For decades, Isaac Asimov's Foundation wasn't just a book series, it was a pillar of science fiction, an epic so vast and cerebral it was famously labeled unfilmable. Think of it less as a single story and more like a dense history textbook from the future, covering 1,000 years of collapsing civilizations. Its ideas about sociology and history were the stars. Characters were often just pawns in a galactic chess game, appearing for one chapter only to become a footnote in the next. So when Apple TV Plus announced they were making a series, the question wasn't if they'd change it, but just how much they would dare to. Well, the answer is they changed almost everything. It's as if they took a historical landmark, kept the original foundation, and built a gleaming modern skyscraper on top of it. Key characters were gender swapped and thrust into new action-heavy roles. Entire storylines, like the very face of the evil empire, were invented from scratch. The showrunners took Asimov's sacred text and gave it a complete rewrite. For many purists, this was heresy. For others, it was the only way it could ever work. So the real question is, in rewriting a sci-fi Bible, did Apple create a modern masterpiece or a spectacular betrayal? The unfilmable problem. To get the changes, you first have to understand the monumental challenge here. Asimov's Foundation isn't a traditional novel. It's more like a collection of historical documents from different eras, all stitched together. The story leaps forward by decades, sometimes centuries between chapters, and the true main character isn't a person, but an idea. Psychohistory. This fictional science, created by Seldon, is like weather forecasting for humanity. It uses math to predict the future of massive populations, but not the actions of a single individual. The books are full of dialogue, debates, and philosophical puzzles. They're light on emotion, action, and consistent characters, the very things that make a TV drama binge-worthy. Asimov's heroes solved crises by outsmarting their opponents, not outfighting them. One of Salvor Hardin's most famous lines is, "Violence is the last refuge of the incompetent," a philosophy that doesn't exactly scream thrilling action sequence. Showrunner David S. Goyer, a lifelong fan, admitted he'd turned down adapting Foundation as a movie twice because a faithful word-for-word adaptation would be like filming a series of lectures. The Asimov estate agreed, giving his team the freedom to reinvent the story for a visual medium. Their solution was to keep the soul of Asimov's ideas, but build a whole new body around them, one with a beating heart. 2. The character reinventions. The most immediate, and for many controversial changes, were to the characters. In the books, Gaal Dornick and Salvor Hardin are men. Gaal is a brilliant mathematician who serves as our introduction to Seldon before vanishing from the story. Salvor is the clever, political first mayor of Terminus. The show transforms them into young women of color and makes them the twin pillars of the narrative. Lulo Bell's Gaal Dornick is no longer just a witness. She's Seldon's protege, a reluctant prophet haunted by psychic-like abilities. Leah Harvey's Salvor Hardin is reimagined from a politician into the action hero Warden of Terminus. This is like taking a chess grandmaster and turning them into a heavyweight boxer. The goal is still to win, but the methods are completely different. These aren't just cosmetic changes. By gender-swapping these roles, the show instantly modernizes a story that had almost no major female characters. More importantly, it gives the huge impersonal narrative a human anchor. We're not just observing history from a distance. We're living its consequences through Gaal and Salvor. Their journeys are emotional, and the show even invents a complex family tie between them, creating a personal relationship at the core of a story that was once famously impersonal. 3. Inventing an Antagonist, the Genetic Dynasty. Perhaps the boldest and most successful change was inventing the Genetic Dynasty. In Asimov's books, the Galactic Empire is a huge, faceless bureaucracy in decay. Fighting it is like trying to fight gravity. It's a powerful force, but you can't exactly punch it in the face. TV needs a villain you can actually see. The show's solution is brilliant. A single emperor, Cleon I, who has ruled for centuries by cloning himself. At any time, three versions exist. Brother Dawn, the young heir, Brother Day, the ruling emperor, and Brother Dusk, the elder advisor. This entire concept is a show-only fabrication. This invention does three crucial things. First, it gives the faceless empire a literal face, played masterfully by Lee Pace, Terrence Mann, and Cashin Bilton. Second, it solves the character problem across massive time jumps. The Emperor is a constant, giving the audience a recurring villain to track. Third, and most importantly, the Genetic Dynasty becomes a powerful story in its own right. It explores identity, ego, and decay in a way the books never could. The clones, meant to be a perfect eternal dynasty, begin to show tiny flaws, mirroring the decay of the very empire they represent. It's like a living statue designed to last forever, which has now begun to crack. 4. From math to mysticism. The plot rewrites. With characters and a villain reimagined, the plot had to change too. In the books, Harry Seldon's plan is a perfect mathematical machine, like a clockwork mechanism, set to chime at just the right moment centuries later. He guides it through pre-recorded holograms that appear at critical moments. The series injects high drama immediately. Harry Seldon is murdered by his adopted son in a shocking twist, turning him into a martyr. Gaal is shot into a cryo-pod, allowing her to bridge the time gaps. These inventions create emotional stakes and killer cliffhangers. The nature of psychohistory itself also gets a tweak. While still a science, the show blurs the lines by giving characters like Gaal and Salvor intuitive, almost Force-like abilities. The mysterious vault is no longer just a fancy projector room, but a sentient artifact that judges who is worthy. These changes shift the tone from hard science fiction toward something more like mythic fantasy. For some, this waters down the intellectual core of Asimov's work, turning a story about sociology into one about chosen ones. But it's the difference between reading a history textbook and watching a historical epic. One is cerebral, the other is a spectacle. Conclusion. So, did Apple ruin Foundation? If your definition of success is a faithful page-for-page adaptation, then yes, the answer is an unqualified yes. The show trades the book's quiet intellectual rigor for action, melodrama, and romance. It is, at times, Foundation in name only. But if you see adaptation as an act of translation, not just of words, but of spirit, then the show is a remarkable achievement. The creators argued that the book's ideas were more important than their plot points. And to connect with a modern audience, the story had to be rooted in emotion. By reinventing characters, they gave us people to care about. By inventing the Genetic Dynasty, they gave a sprawling story a fascinating antagonist. And by rewriting the plot, they turned philosophical conversations into a gripping epic. The show doesn't replace Asimov's masterpiece. It offers a different interpretation for a different time. It's less a rewrite of a Bible and more of a new translation, ensuring the profound questions Asimov asked can find a new and much bigger audience. But that's just my take. The changes are massive and divisive, and I want to know what you think. Are the show's reinventions a brilliant act of modernization or a betrayal of Asimov's vision? Let me know your verdict in the comments below.